Hello, welcome to my review of the die-cast model of by Kyosho of the Lamborghini Countach LP400. This is a 12th scale model, die-cast metal with openings. Let's have a look around it. But first, where I first came across this car was in this book by Jean-Francois Marchais with photography by Peter Coltrane, all about the Lamborghini Countach. Except for the final ones, there might be a newer version of this book which adds the Quattrovalvole from the mid to late 80s. This one doesn't have it, but it does of course include the LP400. So we've got plenty of information. There's a few pages of colour photos. That's the original LP400. You'll notice the window shape. It's the same as the one in the Lamborghini Museum. And then of course on the cover that's the LP500, the original show car. And one thing we'll notice is the rear lights on that. Anyway, looking at the model, the LP400 was made as it was the first series Countach, followed by the S, and then they moved to the 5-litre engine with the LP500S, and then the LP5000S, which was the 4-valve per cylinder model. So, looking at this car, one of the most obvious things is the periscopic rear view mirror. Now, if you look in the interior, the actual rear view mirror seems too large for this periscope aperture on the back. And of course it was only the LP400s had that. Once they got to the S models they didn't have it. So it's an interesting curiosity that people like if they're collecting. The window shape is unlike the original LP500 show car and the original LP400 first prototype car, but it is this window shape that carried on through all the years of Countach production. It was only this lower panel that opened, and even then it didn't open fully. You'll notice on this early car we've got the aerodynamic, much better looking wing mirrors than the large ones they stuck on the S models. Now, overall proportions, I think the proportions on this car are spot on. The 18th scale Kyosho, I would say this point of the roof, this leading edge, is set slightly too low, and that's a bit reminiscent of the kit car Countachs that are available and have been available since the 80s, where they took a moulding off a real Countach and for some reason that wasn't quite as high up as it should be. Have a look at some videos or pictures of the 18th scale Kyosho and you'll see what I mean about this point. Whereas there, that's your profile, and on the other ones that's a little bit low. So very happy with this. Of course it's got the side pods that existed throughout the Countach series, apart from on the original LP500. They realised they weren't getting enough cooling to the engine, so they had to put those side pods on and these side vents here. So you've got your engine radiators in here in the rear wings, or fenders as you call them in America. Right, before we get to the opening parts, we'll have a look underneath, and then we'll get back to some more detail on the top. I'll tell you what, let me grab this book and pop it on that. So we've got the longitudinally mounted, which means the crankshaft runs in line with the chassis. And interestingly, this is possibly the only car with the gearbox in front of the engine, a mid-engine car with the gearbox in front of the engine. Usually mid-engine cars have the gearbox out the back with the final drive, but this one and all Countachs had the gearbox in front, and I even believe the Murcielago had the same thing. Excellent, reasonable suspension detail. You've obviously got steering wheels there, you've got tow hooks in at that point. It's reasonable detail, you're not going to look at the underside too much. Good exhaust detail, excellent finishes on the end there. Then you've got the Lamborghini Countach number plate as per Lamborghini font and etc. So Coming back to the upper side of the car, one of the details I really love about this is the front indicator side light glass. You've got these horizontal, longitudinal lines which are perfectly representative. The driving lights in the front, which I believe were by Carrillo on the original model. You can't see the marking on this one, but they're there, along with the correct bumper. No spoiler underneath, because that was yet to come once Walter Wolf got his hands on one of these and started messing about with it. Now, while we're looking at the front lights, I ought to just, we've also got pop-up headlights. They're activated by this switch here, so if I switch that, they flick up. There we are. Excellent positioning on those once they're popped up. Very happy with that. And I'll press them back down, they latch into position. Right, okay, so openings wise, we'll start with the doors. Now the doors actually have a door latch, which is quite impressive, but it's really quite hard to get to. You need nails on your fingers and you need to hit the middle of that latch. There we go. And then once the door gets close to being fully open, it becomes a little bit stiff to open there. Then it does open to the full position that you see on the real car. It's not like a partial opening like you'll see on some models where they really can't do the hinges any justice. And then the tricky bit of getting this one open. So like I say, it is tricky, but it's worth the effort. And you've got some lovely, it looks great as per the real car with the Lambo doors. So the Countach LP400 was of course the first car ever with Lambo doors. Looking in the interior, you've got the seats that stayed with the model until the anniversary model, where they were then replaced. Lovely buckets, single piece seats. Excellent detail on the dash, very 70s style dash there, very rudimentary really in a way. But you've got nice gear lever detail. The steering wheel does move with the front wheels, so you've got good stuff there. And mentioning the front wheels, excellent, true to the original design, and the rubber tyres. The tread pattern is period as well, which is great. But one thing I've suffered on this car is the wheel centres are just, it's as if they've been damaged from the inside. Just the centres, and the silver has been worn off. So that's a little bit of an odd one, and I suspect it will happen to every one of these models. You're just going to have to put up with it, unfortunately. So then we get to the other openings. We've got the engine cover. We use the Kyosho supplied tool. And if you're wondering why I haven't shown you any of the packaging is nothing to write home about on this car. Really completely uninteresting. So that opens up, and then at that point you can see the high tension wiring, the coil on the back. You've got the side draft carburetors. The car moved to downdraft carburetors for the Quattrovalvo, where they wanted a slightly longer runner to provide the different resonance in the inlet manifolds to optimize the power for the higher revving, better breathing 4-valve per cylinder engine. But on this you've got the, you can even see you've got the linkages on the carburetors there. It's a nicely done engine bay, obviously plastic, but everything's there. There's a stay here, hydraulic style stay working on friction, that works nicely. Not bad, and it's great when you get to the point of having everything open where you can see into it. And then we've got the luggage compartment in the back, again with a hydraulic style strut working on friction, felt lined, very nice. You've got the boot latch, which is not a bad showing as well. And while we're around the back of the car, we'll just look at the rear lights, and you've got the signature square lights of this car, which kind of does contrast with the LP500 show car from 1971, where you didn't see these distinctive square lights. It was just one big irregular hexagonally shaped light cluster, light unit. But you know, needs must, they had to be able to produce it somehow. I'm not saying it's the most elegant way of doing it, but it's nicely represented on the car with the reversing lights, the indicator lights, all of that. And of course around the back you've got the Lamborghini and Countach nameplates. So moving to the front compartment. This is not a frunk, it's just a it's where the spare wheel is going to stay, and you're not going to get that out of the car. But you've got again the usual ancillaries, the battery and the wiring. It's nice to see the wiring and the strut holding that up. So yeah, it's not a bad show. Right, let's just close that back up. And really, we've come to the end of the review. Going back to the tyres, obviously you've got the shape of the wheel arches there. I would say, and that's obviously a very Lamborghini signature thing. You saw it in the Lamborghini Bravo from 1974. This will be a 1974, 75, 76 car that it's representing, maybe an early one because of the Periscopic, so 74, 75. But it's an excellent model. It is weighty. It's there's a fair amount of metal in this machine, and very happy with that. Okay, well, thanks for watching my review. And really, there's nothing to add on that. There are more videos that I'm doing. I've got a Lamborghini Araco Rally review just recently put on. There'll be more to come. There's a Tamiya 250 GTO, diecast 12th scale again. And yeah, have a look, subscribe to the channel, and enjoy what you see. Thank you.